I might get a bit ranty in this video. Like I never like have scripts that I read off of. I see a comment and I hit record and I tell you what I feel, what I think. So if this one gets a bit ranty, my apologies in advance. There's no script to follow. I've done a number of videos over the years about how sometimes we have to vote for people we don't like. Sometimes the person that we wanted to be the nominee didn't get to be the nominee, right? And how we still have to vote for the candidate that is going to do the least amount of harm. Vote for the candidate that maybe wasn't our first choice. And people have expressed to me, and this person is saying sort of the same thing, that this isn't all progressives, Tom. It isn't all progressives that need to hold their nose and vote for a moderate candidate because they're the ones that got the nominee. This person here says goes the other way too. If you are more centrist and the Democratic Socialist of America candidate wins the primary, you need to get out and support and vote for them. I agree. Get out and support them. Now, I don't think anybody owes anybody, like campaign trail time. But voting for somebody, yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And James Carville needs to shut the fuck up. James Carville and the other moderate Democrats that are like me, I'm a moderate Democrat. James Carville and the other moderate Democrats that are currently pissing and moaning about what happened in the primaries in New York need to shut the fuck up. New York spoke. They chose Democratic Socialists of America. That's who they want. That's how that works. That's the fucking democracy we live in. In Illinois, we chose more moderate Democrats. In New York, they chose more progressive Democrats. At the end of the day, doesn't matter if they're more moderate, doesn't matter if they're more progressives. They are still infinitely better than the MAGA Republican options that are being put out there. And that's what I mean when I say sometimes we are going to have to vote for people that we don't like or that wasn't our first choice. And that goes for the moderate Democrats too. That goes for the James Carvilles of the world. We have a system. We go out in the primaries and we vote for the person that we think should be the nominee. And the primary is when you are supposed to be over the moon about your person. Scream from the mountaintops. This person should be the candidate, and here's why. Make phone calls for them, knock on doors, hand out literature. Do everything you can to get your candidate to be the nominee. And when we have a primary and your candidate loses, the person that you didn't want winds up getting the nomination. It's time for you to swallow your pride and realize that the other option is still infinitely better. Listen, you don't have to vote for anybody. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. I'm not saying to you, you need to go vote for this person. That's the way it is. I'm telling you that those are the only two people that are going to win. If you think you're going to write somebody in and they're going to win, you're fucking dreaming. If you think you're going to vote for the Libertarian and they're going to win, you're fucking dreaming. If you think you're going to vote for the Green Party candidate and they're going to win, you're fucking dreaming. And if you choose to do any of those things, either not vote in a certain race but vote for the rest of them, write in somebody, vote for a third party candidate, then all you're doing is helping the opposition win. And that goes for moderate Democrats too. There are some progressive candidates that won. There are some moderate Democrat candidates that won. And there are some progressives out there that don't like the fact that the moderates won. I see it here in Illinois with some well-known or better-known names that were progressive that wound up losing. If you want to stop the MAGA movement, if you want to stop Trump's agenda, then you go vote for the Democrat, even though they're not the one that you wanted. And that goes in New York, goes forward in New York as well. That's who they chose. That's what New York wants. I fight against, fucked up candidates, for example, in the state of Florida. But when Florida picks their candidates, That's the candidates that they want. And when Florida goes to the polls in the general election and picks their elected official, and it's a Republican, that's what Florida wanted. That's what Florida chose. This is what New York chose. New York went to the polls, they had their primary, and they said, this is what we want. And James Carville and other moderate Democrats, if you don't like it, I understand you don't like it. I have no problem with any of the candidates that won in New York. But that's what New Yorkers should be doing. They should now be getting ready to vote for the Democratic Socialist of America candidate, even if that's not the person you want. James Carville, are you telling me that any of the Republican candidates that are going to go up against any of these DSA candidates are better? That things in New York or in general would be better if the Republican candidate won over any of these DSA candidates? No, you know you're not. You know you're not. Just like none of you progressives can tell me that if the MAGA Republican candidate won as opposed to the moderate Democrat in some other state, that it would be better. You can't say it because you know it's not true. So yeah, you're right. It does go both ways. That message extends to progressive Democrats and to moderate Democrats. And I've always been hammering on the progressive Democrats because it's always been progressive Democrats saying, I'm not going to vote for the moderate Democrat. But now we have moderate Democrats saying, well, I'm not going to vote for the progressive Democrat. Really? Then you're going to own what happens there. You're going to be the reason why a Republican wins in those areas. And you're going to have to own that. You're free to vote or not vote how you want. Then you take the consequences. You take the ownership of your actions. And what James Carville is doing right now, and other moderate Republicans are doing, or Democrats are doing in regard to what happened in New York, is they're trying to tell people in New York not to vote for these people because they're not real Democrats. Yeah, they're just different Democrats than you and I. They're further left Democrats than you and I, but they're Democrats. And they are who New York chose to represent them, who New York Democrats have chosen to represent them. Once we get to the general election and they're elected, then it will be who New York chose to elect to represent them. And that's how it is, man. That's how it is. There is only one group of people in this country that can stop the MAGA agenda, that can stop Donald Trump from carrying out the rest of his agenda. And that's us. The only people in the country that can do it is us. And the way we can do it is with our vote. And if we go in there and we don't vote for the Democratic nominee, if we vote for a third-party candidate, if we write somebody in, if we abstain from voting for that particular race because we don't like the candidate, then what we are doing is we are helping MAGA Republicans get elected, and we are helping facilitate the rest of Trump's agenda over the course of the last 2 years of his presidency. Period.